You know, sometimes a case starts with something as simple as a headache and ends with a death sentence. Today, we're diving into a really chilling story of deception in what seemed like the perfect crime. This is the case of the poisoned pills. Right at the center of this whole thing is a terrifying question. Imagine this. A wife dies just moments after her husband gives her some medicine. So, is it just a terrible, tragic accident? Or is it something much, much darker? Okay, so here's how it all went down, and it happened so fast. A woman named Hana has a really bad migraine. Her husband, Fareed, gives her some pills he just picked up. She takes them, but instead of getting better, she suddenly gets way, way worse. And then, just like that, she's gone. She passes away. At first glance, it just looks like a horrible, sudden medical emergency. But then, at the hospital, the whole story just flips on its head. The doctors think maybe it was a stroke, but a routine blood test shows something that has absolutely no business being there: poison. This changes everything. This wasn't a natural death, this was a homicide. And the hospital, they immediately get the police involved. So, now that we know it's poisoning, who's the first person everyone looks at? Of course, it's the person who gave her the pills, her husband, Fareed. To make things worse, neighbors come forward and say he had a bad temper and that the two of them fought all the time. It's not looking good for him, but Fareed swears up and down he had nothing to do with it. But here's where the investigators do something really smart. Instead of just getting tunnel vision on Fareed, they take a step back and ask the big question: where did the poison actually come from? And just like that, their focus shifts from the husband to the supply chain, specifically that one little pharmacy where he bought the medicine. And boom, this is where the case just cracks wide open. Health officials start checking pharmacies all over the region, and they find something incredible. The poisoned pills, they're only at one pharmacy. Not two, not 10, just one. So this wasn't some big manufacturing mistake. The poison was put there locally, right in that one shop. Now, the pharmacist, Hiba, she is under a ton of pressure. She insists she's innocent, but then she remembers a tiny detail that doesn't seem like much at first. She says, another neighbor had just bought that exact same medication pretty recently. And that little detail, it blows the case wide open. And here is the connection that sends a chill down your spine. That neighbor's husband, a man named Saleem, he had also died recently. And the cause of death on his certificate? A stroke. And what was he taking medicine for? Migraines. The exact same medication. The parallels to Hana's death, you can't ignore it. When you actually lay it all out like this, the connection becomes crystal clear. Both were thought to have had a stroke. Both were actually killed by poison. And, crucially, both got their medicine from Hiba's pharmacy. The police now realize they're not looking for one killer. They're looking for a double murderer. So, what exactly was this poison? Well, the next big break comes from the forensics lab. They finally identify it, and it's not some rare, super secret chemical. It's a common, everyday product used to kill algae in fish tanks. The murder weapon was basically a household item, hiding in plain sight. And that little piece of information changes everything. The investigators pay a visit to Saleem's widow, Selma, and what do they see in her home? A perfectly clean, immaculate fish tank. Suddenly, all the pieces click into place. The murder weapon is probably sitting just a few feet away from them. But why? Why would she do it? Well, investigators look into her finances, and there it is, a huge life insurance policy on her husband. But here's the kicker. The policy had a very specific clause. It would only pay out the full amount if his death was ruled accidental. If it was a clear-cut murder, she'd get nothing. So they have the motive, and now they get the smoking gun. The forensics team finds Selma's fingerprints, and not just on her husband's poison medicine box. They're on Hana's box too. She physically handled both murder weapons. There's no explaining that away. It's over. Once she's confronted with the fingerprint evidence, the financial motive, the whole story, she just completely breaks down. There's nowhere left to run. Selma confesses to everything. And her plan, it was so deviously simple. At home, she carefully opened up the real medicine capsules, emptied them, and refilled them with the fish tank cleaner. Then, she went to the pharmacy, caused a little distraction, and quickly swapped 2 clean boxes on the shelf with her 2 poisoned ones. But why 2 boxes? This is what reveals just how cold and calculated her plan really was. See, one box was for her husband, Saleem. He was the target. But the second box? That was planted for a random person. Hana's death wasn't a mistake. She was a sacrifice. She was collateral damage, killed just to make the poisonings look like a random, tragic accident so Salma could collect on that insurance policy. And, it wasn't just about the money. In her confession, she talked about feeling completely trapped. She hated her husband, said he was stingy and controlling. That insurance money wasn't just cash to her. It was her ticket to what she saw as freedom. So, with a full confession, rock-solid forensic evidence, and a clear motive, the court's decision was quick and unanimous. Salma was found guilty of the premeditated murder of her husband, Saleem, and the intentional murder of Hana. And for the cold, calculated murder of two people. One of them a complete stranger she sacrificed for her cover story, Salma received the ultimate penalty: execution. This whole case is it's a terrifying reminder of how evil can be hiding behind something that just looks like a horrible accident. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many so-called accidental deaths are anything but? How many are actually part of a hidden, perfectly planned crime?